Hello everybody, welcome back to another stream. The Network Berg here, hope you've been doing well. Yeah, this lab I hope we're gonna have a bit of fun. I actually want to return to the FortiGate or FortiOS version 7, play around with some stuff on the IPsec, and then if we have time I actually want to look at a few things on MikroTik as well, specifically VXLAN, because I know some people are interested in it. Although what I found with the VXLAN is it's pretty busted in the beta version at the moment because it works even without specifying stuff like your VTEPs. So I don't think it's supposed to work that way, which is why I tend to not enjoy showcasing beta version stuff, because a lot of the times it's just not really what you're going to get in the end result and things tend to change. Anyways, let's jump into the video. I've already got the Eve NG server started up. I've got the Fortinet lab from last week. So I'm just going to open this up, and then from here we will start up our nodes. So I'm going to start up this FortiGate that we brought up last week. Maybe just this LAN network behind it, this MikroTik. Oh, I might want to play around with the FortiManager as well. I want to see if we can maybe play around with some orchestration for the SD-WAN. And let's do the IPsec. So for IPsec to work, we need to have another FortiGate, obviously. So I've got this one on the left, but I'm pretty sure this one is broken. It doesn't have anything actually. Well, it's probably got configuration, but it's more or less an old device I brought up, and I can assure you its trial license has already expired. And that's another issue. Well, not an issue. Like I promised in the last video, I'll try and get trial licenses from Fortinet to play around with some of the UTM features, but they wouldn't budge. So we'll just work with what we have right now. If I do like get enough funding, then I might just get a license just to show people how UTM works. Anyways, let's bring up a FortiGate. This will be another version 7 device. So we'll do V7 to V7. I won't add any additional resources to it, else it will create issues with the VM. And let me just give it a firewall icon. Maybe I'll make this one a blue one since the other one is red. There we go. And I will just save this. And let's just drag this over here. And then let's connect this FortiGate to my intranet, which is actually just my Eve management cloud. I'll connect port 1. And essentially this will now just get an IP address in this WAN range, so that it can communicate with the other FortiGate as if it was on the intranet, and also so that I can actually import it into the FortiManager a little bit later if we have time. All right, let's start this up. And I might just connect this Docker onto port 2. Imagine that's just another LAN network. Let's just refresh this so it doesn't show this annoying thing there. And there we go. Now we've got a blue FortiGate and a red one. Let's just quickly see if I can access this red FortiGate. So I'll go to its IP 192.168.74. I think I updated that IP actually. Let's just quickly check on the command line what it is. Admin password. Show system int. I'm just looking for port 1. Okay, so the IP is .88, and we're just going to connect on to port on HTTP, because HTTPS doesn't work because of the SSL encryption that doesn't work with the trial license. All right, cool. So here we've got our one FortiGate. It's connected. We can see it's still functioning, so we can actually set up IPsec. I just want to see what the IPsec configs look like on this. So let's just look at our tunnels. Let's just go custom, call this one whatever. So this is all still pretty much the same as on any other previous version, so nothing has changed here. All right. So let's just add this blue firewall onto the network. So this is admin blank, but let's add a new password, make that pat. Let's do a config system interface. Let's edit our port 1. And then from port 1, I will just set the mode to static. And I will set my IP to 192.168.74.70/24. And then I will just commit those changes by going next and end. And then let's just quickly set up I actually want to play around with the BGP and stuff as well, but we can do that a little bit later. Let's just be very basic right now. And let's just add a config router static. Let's just edit a new entry. We can set the destination to 0000/0. We can set our gateway to 192.168.74.2. And we can set our device to port 1. This is just to give this FortiGate internet access as well. So let's just commit these changes and let's see, can we break out to the internet? Yes, we can. And I did make the IP.70, so let's quickly see, can I connect? Oh, I need to set another thing. Let's quickly go into our interfaces again. So config system interface, let's edit our port 1. And let's just set the allowed access, or actually let's say append allow access, because if we use append, it will just add on to that line. And then we just want to specify HTTP as well. This is just so that I can connect to the firewall actually on HTTP now. So 192.168.74.70. Cool. So now we've got 2 version 7 firewalls. Let's just quickly set up a host name for this second firewall. What would I call this? Let's call it something interesting. I might call it my branch. All right, let's go into our, it shouldn't be in the dashboard. System. Okay, they moved system a bit down there. Host name, we can just change you. What is this one called? TMB 4TV7 lab. So let's make this TMB branch V7. Let's quickly set the time. So I'll just set this to my time zone. And let's apply. Cool. So now we've got these 2 FortiGates. So what I would actually like to do is on this branch firewall, let's just quickly add a IP to this port 2 for its LAN. So let's just imagine this is actually a LAN interface as well. And let's give this an IP address of 172.22.1.1/24. So this was my branch office LAN range. I'll just enable ping from the LAN to get to the firewall. And let's OK that. So now in theory, if I go into my Eve topology, I start up this Docker, which is just going to be another, let's say, LAN server. Oh, and let's just map this out so that we don't forget what range is here. So this LAN is 172, I think 201.0/24, or did I make it 21? See how easy it is, 22 even. All right, so it's 172.22.1.0/24, .1 being the firewall. And we can maybe make that Docker, which is just the Eve Docker, .100. Where is this additional .1? Oh, it's there on this firewall logo. Okay, so this we can make .100. Let's log on to the Docker quickly so that we can assign it an IP address. So I'm just going to give it this IP address of 172.22.1.100. So application, terminal, let's do ifconfig eth0. The IP was 172.22.1.100, net mask 255.255.255.0. And let's just do a route at default gateway 172.22.1.1. Cool, took it without issues. Let's see from here, can I ping out? No, I can't ping the internet, but can I ping my gateway 22.1.1? I can't ping that either, which is a bad sign, but it might just be this whole cable do that. So let's just reconnect the cable onto port 2. And let's see if I can ping it now. Yes, I can. I don't know why that happens. It just sometimes happens. Just be aware of that. Especially if you're on emulators. Because this is something with the emulators, I can assure you guys. All right. So now our new subnet is able to get to our firewall, but it's still not going to be able to break out because we don't have any policies yet. So let's just set up a very basic firewall policy, so that we can say, this is now on our branch firewall, we'll say branch internet out. And we'll say anything from port 2, which is the LAN interface, going to port 1, which is our WAN interface. We can specify the source address as 172.22.1.0/24. It's good to be granular like this, just to specify everything that we're setting up. And our destination, I'll make that all since it's traffic going to the internet. My services, I might just allow only ICMP and HTTP and HTTPS. My action will be accept. This will just be flow based. If I was using UTM filters, I would use proxy based. I'll allow the NAT. I'll use my outgoing interface IP address, which means it will just NAT the IP address as 192.168.74.70 when traffic leaves this network. All right, so let's just OK this. Cool, now we've got a very basic firewall policy to get out to the internet. So let's see, can I ping 8.8.8.8? Yes, I can. Let's open up our Firefox and just see, can we actually browse to anything? So let's see, wait, I might actually not be able to browse to anything because I haven't specified DNS servers. So let's just quickly do that. Vim etc resolve.conf name server 8.8.8.8. Let's right quit this. And let's see, can I ping www.google.com? Oh, another issue. And this is what we had on the previous stream. We just need to allow DNS out as well, since we're using 8.8.8 as our DNS server. Duh. Let's quickly see, can I ping out now? Yes, I can. So now I can resolve names. Let's do something trippy. This is going to be like in the Matrix now. Let's go to YouTube. See, can we open this? Cool. We can get to YouTube. Let's search for me, the Network Berg. Cool. Can even see that I'm live right now. This is pretty ooh. I just heard myself speaking as well. That's always so confusing. Anyways, it's working. We've got internet out from this new range. So now we can actually start playing around with the IPsec maybe. So I'll do the IPsec in two parts. I'll do one side from the GUI and the other one from the command line. You know, it's a potato, tomato, all that stuff. It's up to preference. I like FortiGate's GUI. It's pretty good. But if you like working on the CLI, it's pretty quick to set everything up there as well. So let's just quickly give this a name. So this is now from the TNB, the HQ FortiGate. I'll just call this, maybe I'll give it a name like IPsec to branch. You can set up templates, so site to site, which is very like easy and effective to set up a hub and spoke, remote access, all that kind of stuff. I tend to, if it is IPsec to another service provider or customer or something, I'd probably just leave it on custom because you want to have that ability to just tune things. But you can tune anything. Side to side, it will just automatically create some objects and make it easier for you. Anyways, let me just set it up as custom. And then my preference. Now we can define how do we want to connect to IPsec. So why am I doing this? Well, basically we've got these two sites now, two different FortiGates, and I want these FortiGates, these LAN ranges of both of these sites to be able to communicate so that we can actually have communication. Maybe we will set up communication to the DMZ as well, because maybe our mail server's there or the web server or something. Cool. So let's set up IPsec to branch. The IP address to the branch was 192.168.74.88. It tends to pick up the interface automatically where it's supposed to connect over, but it's not doing it now, but it's fine. We'll just use WAN 1 as our default IP to get out. And we will leave the NAT traversal enabled, but we could disable this as well because we're not behind another device that's natting the traffic. These two firewalls will be able to communicate just fine, but I'll leave this as default because a lot of people just tend to leave these settings default. I will set the authentication method as PSK, which is pre-shared key. You could use signature as well, but for that you do need certificate. So we'll just use the PSK. And to get a good PSK, we'll just use Google PSK generator. And this tends to just quickly create a fast and secure pre-shared key. Let's just copy this. And this is what I'm going to make, the pre-shared key on the HQ. And the pre-shared key needs to match on both firewalls, otherwise it will just fail. I'll leave the version as version 1. And on main mode, now we can specify our encryption. Ooh, I think because I'm using the trial version, I don't have pretty good encryption here. Because now I've only got DES, and DES is ancient stuff. All right, but let's maybe make it DES SHA 512 or something. But usually we go for something like AES something like that, like AES 128 or 254 or whatever. 256, I mean, sorry. Let's set our DH group as, we can set this as whatever we want, but again, with IPsec, your configuration needs to match both ends. If it doesn't match, the tunnel will never come up and you're going to have a lot of heartache. But let's just put it as 5. Again, key lifetime, this should match as well, but people tend to just, again, leave this as default. They don't do anything here. So that's pretty much it for the phase 1. Now we need to also just set up our phase 2 encryption, or phase 2 selector. So this is also just kind of like us saying what IP ranges we want to allow to communicate over this IPsec tunnel. If you're very lazy and you leave it as the 0000, it will connect, it will work, but it's not very secure then. I mean, you could still restrict traffic based off of policy and routing, which is fine. But then, you know, if a malicious person was able to get access, and, you know, they could do some damage. So best practice is just to make sure you specify your addresses. And it's pretty straightforward. It's just asking, what is your local address? So my local address for this is going to be that LAN, which was 172.22.1.0/24. And we can set this as subnet. And you have various options. You can do IP ranges, an IP address, a named address, which is actually quite cool because a named address is a firewall policy object that you can add. And then you can add different ranges to that named address. We might do that as well just to see how well it works. But let's just leave it on subnet for now. And then ask you, what is your remote subnet? So let's look at our topology, and that was 1080 or 10.080. So let's set that as 10.080.0/24. And now we need to set our other encryption methods. And I see this is going to only allow us very basic DES encryption. And let's just set our DH group here as well. We could disable the PFS, then we don't need to set a DH group for the phase 2, but I tend to leave it on as well. Put it on 5, and I won't change anything else. I'll leave everything else as is. Hit the OK. And I'll hit OK. And in theory, we're done with the IPsec config on one side, but the IPsec will never work if you don't have policies in place for it either. I'll show you how it doesn't work or why it doesn't work just now, but let's just first configure the other end of the tunnel so that you can see why it happens. Otherwise, it's kind of pointless to like just explain it, you know. All right, let's go into our VPN, and then I am going to see if I can open up a new PuTTY session. So let me open this up. Hang on a sec. Just give me a moment. I need to go into OBS quickly. I just need to change something. All right, cool. So let's access PuTTY again. Why did I open that? Let's just see, can I do it this way? Yes. Okay, so let's go and we'll connect to 192.168.74.70. So admin password. Even though I already had it open via the Eve command line, let's just quickly see here. We've got TMB branch, so let's do a config system. We're not doing config system, we're doing config. Oh, what was that? Video filter. Cool. Anyways, we don't want that either. We want to config VPN IPsec. We're going to configure a phase 1 interface, and this is now empty at the moment, so all that we're going to do is edit this. We can edit, and we're going to add, let's call this IPsec to HQ. Cool. Now if I do a show here, let's just see set. So a few things that we need to set. Firstly, our interface. That's going to be port 1. Anything with a star is basically a required field. If you don't fill it in, it's not going to work. So let's do remote gateway. This remote gateway is going to be 192.168.74.88. Then we want to set our proposal. Set proposal. So this I had as des SHA-512, I think. Let's just check. Yes, des SHA-512. We need to set a PSK. And it was this password. So I might just do that. It looked like it added a space there, which we definitely don't want. Let's just quickly check here. Okay, so we've got our proposal, we've got a gateway. A good way to just reference this quickly is just to pop into the CLI on this other firewall, config VPN IPsec phase 1 interface, and we can just show this. So we look pretty good. We need to set our DH group still. Set DH group was 5. And we're good. This looks pretty good. So that's just the phase 1. So let's just next that. We can end it, and the phase 1 is configured. So let's quickly configure the phase 2. So config VPN IPsec phase 2 interface. And then we'll just edit and we can give it a name. The phase 2 again is just like that encryption domain. So what IPs are we going to send over the network? So we're editing, we can call this IPsec. You can give it the same name actually, it won't do anything, to HQ. Now we need to set our proposal. I think I made that des SHA-512 as well. We need to set our DH group, which is 5. And let's just say what the source address type is. Set source address type. So this is subnet. And the destination address type is subnet as well. And then I need to just set my phase 1 name. And that is going to be IPsec to HQ. I'm just trying to see where there we go, set source subnet. And now the source subnet from the branch is going to be 172.22.1.0/24. And then the destination subnet is going to be 10.0.80.0/24. All right, that looks good. We can reference that again just by going onto the primary firewall. Let's do a config system, config VPN, IPsec phase 2 interface, show. And there we go. It's basically the same, although I've made a mistake already because I've swapped I've got the same settings specified at my HQ. So this just needs to be swapped around quickly. So let's just make it 172.22.10/24. Apply that. And let's apply the changes on the branch firewall. And cool, that should be it. If I look at my dashboard, we can actually go to our network and I'll see an IPsec here. And what I can do is try and bring up the IPsec, but it's not coming up at the moment. And earlier I said it would probably fail because we are having issues with our policies that we haven't implemented yet. But I just want to show you the reasoning why. So let's just jump onto the 140net. So admin password. So if I do a diagnose debug application IKE, which is the Internet Key Exchange, which is for the IPsec, I will be able to now be able to see debug messages, like what's happening when it's trying to connect. So let's just enable our debug, diagnose debug enable. And then let's try and force the connection for the IPsec. So the moment I try and connect, you can actually see the error is already there. Let's just try and bring it up again. So the firewall just says IPsec is trying to connect to the other firewall, ignoring requests to establish IPsec security association, no policy configured. So that's why you always need to have policies set if you are configuring IPsec. So let's just create policies quickly. So we can call this is now the HQ firewall. So let's say access to branch or branch LAN. Our incoming interface is our LAN. Our outgoing interface is now going to be the IPsec interface. Our source will be the LAN subnet, and our destination will be 172.22.10/24, which is the branch LAN. So let's just quickly add this address object. Branch LAN. And there we go. A branch LAN object has been created. Now what we can do is just say what we want to allow. I'll just allow everything over the IPsec for now. We're not going to NAT our traffic, and we'll just enable the policy. And FortiGate has something pretty swell. If you want to, you can use a clone reverse rule, which basically creates the same policy, just it swaps your source and destination stuff around, so that if you want to have that bi-directional communication, this is a quick way to do that. Sorry, I just quickly need to drink something, so I might just mute myself for a second. All right, so let's log on to the branch firewall. And hang on, we actually said we're doing this on the command line, so let's do that. So we'll do a config firewall policy. I'll edit 0, so that will just add a new policy. If I do a show, you'll actually see it is 2. But when you say edit 0, it just makes it the next available number. So let's set our source interface, which is port 2, the LAN interface. Let's set our destination interface to the IPsec. Let's set our source address. I'm just going to make this all, because otherwise I need to leave this config now to create an address object. And let's just set the destination address to all as well. Set our action to accept. Set our schedule to always. And set our service to all. I'm going to next that, end it. So if I do a show firewall policy, I'll see there's that second policy that was added. And now it's allowing traffic from my LAN over to the IPsec. We can quickly also just do a reverse clone of the same rule on the branch firewall. So there's the port, there's the policy. Let's just do a clone reverse and enable that. So now we can initiate traffic bidirectionally over the firewall. All right, cool. So what I want to do is, again, try and bring up the IPsec tunnel, and let's see what happens now. So it's still failing. Ooh, but I'm getting a probable pre-shared key mismatch. Very interesting. That's probably when I copied this. Remember, I did some backspace on the command line, and there's a good chance that when I pasted this in on the initial configuration on the GUI, it actually had those spaces as well. So let's just quickly update the pre-shared key. So I'm just copying and pasting on both of the firewalls. So copy, paste. Now we know the key is definitely the same on both sides. So let's try again and see what happens. Let's go into our networks. Try and bring this up. Let's see what my firewall is saying. Negotiation failure. Probable pre-shared key it's still giving a mismatch. Let's just, for the sake of making it simple, I'm just going to set the password to something very easy. Maybe make it like 1 2 3 4 5 6. Save that on both ends. And there's a good chance that it just doesn't work on the trial FortiGates, which would suck. But that's okay. All right, let's quickly see now. I mean, we definitely know the password is pretty straightforward, pretty simple, and it should work. Still getting a failure. And it's still a probable pre-shared key mismatch. I can't see how. Admin password, diagnose, debug, disable, show. I might just have to close the session. Actually, let's close all the PuTTY sessions quickly. And then what I'm going to do is just go into Eve, go into the first firewall, which is the HQ firewall again. I wanted to stop giving me the debug messages, but it's just continuing. All right, let's just do a show else. I might just do this from the browser quickly. Let's go into our VPN. Tunnels on both ends. Let's just edit. So on the primary firewall, we've got our, but I mean, even the phase 1 is still failing, so it has to be something else. But let's just look at our phase 2 stuff anyways. Just make sure that everything matches the way it's supposed to. Because if anything is not the same, it's always gonna like fail. So from HQ, my local address is 10.080/24, which is correct. And from the branch, my local address is 172.22.1.0, which is correct. So the phase 2 all looks normal to me. Let's just check our... Okay, that is a big oopsie. So I should be connecting to .70. I think initially I was probably thinking I was connecting on the branch firewall when I configured that first tunnel. All right, let's see what happens now. So let's try and bring up the selectors. And now our phase 1 is connecting, but our phase 2 still showing down. Let's just refresh that. But that's pretty neat. I wonder if I go into my command line now. Let's just quickly do a test. Admin password. If I do a ping as 172.22.1.1 and I try to ping 10.080.1, what will happen? That's currently failing, but that is definitely because our phase 2 was still not connecting. Okay, but then I've got a mismatch on the phase 2 somewhere. So let's quickly have a look. So on our branch, let's just go in here. And a good way to compare this is just on a notepad. So I'm just going to open up a normal notepad. I would use Notepad++, but I don't want to pause the screen again. So let's just get that specific configuration. So here is our HQ firewall. So let's just do a show VPN IPsec phase 2 interface. I'll just copy that as is, throw that in our text file. And let's do the same on our branch. So show VPN IPsec phase 2 interface, hit enter. And let's paste. Now let's just see, is there anything that's out of place? It doesn't appear to be, as far as I can see. Our proposals are the same. Our DH groups are the same. Our subnets are correct as far as I can see. (172.22.10/24) and 10.080/24. So the configs look okay. Let me just quickly check from this branch firewall. If I go into my network, All right, the phase 2 is actually connecting. Let's just check on the HQ firewall now. Let's look at our networks. All right, so this is actually up. What I want to do now is then, let's see, we're on the branch. Let's run that ping again to 10.0.80.1. And what I could do is, while I run that, is diagnose, debug, flow filter. Let's just say anything going to 10.0.80.1. I just want to see the debug logs for any traffic going to that IP. And then I'm going to do a diagnose, debug, enable. And let's just ping that IP and see what happens. All right. So it's currently, and I can see what the issue is. Currently, the traffic is coming into the firewall, and then the firewall is just trying to send it out of port 1. So we've missed something with the IPsec configuration, and it's actually very straightforward. We've got policies, we've got the VPN up, but we haven't set up any routing yet. So we need to specify how do we want to get to those networks. So let's say on the HQ firewall, I'm just going to say I want to be able to get to 172.1.1.0/24. How do I get there? I don't have a gateway interface because I haven't set this as like tunnels. But that's an old way how you could do things, and you can assign an IP to the interface, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to say this is an IPsec. So anything for that, just push it over the IPsec and hit OK. And now we need to set up the same type of route on the branch firewall. But for this, we're going to make that address 10.0.80/24, and our interface out will be the IPsec. Okay. Now let's quickly see what happens if I run a ping now. It's actually working. So right now, what this debug log is telling is the traffic is coming in, and it is encrypting the traffic, and then it sends the traffic out encrypted over the IPsec, which is perfect. Let's just execute ping option source 172.22.1.1 10.0.80.1. I want to just clear the debug, so diagnose, debug, reset. And let's just do a ping plainly so you can see it is actually working now. Awesome. So right now what we've achieved is we have 2 firewalls running FortiGate OS version 7, and these 2 firewalls are establishing an IPsec connection to each other in order to get to IP addresses. You know, it might have been for various services, maybe surveillance, maybe development, maybe just remote sites that you wanted to do like some type of hub and spoke connection with IPsec tunnels. This is how we could set this up using a FortiGate. Wonderful. So what I would like to try and do is bring up this FortiManager. And then I want to try and import these firewalls into the FortiManager. And with this, I'm actually expecting us to struggle, but it's okay. I like a struggle. So let's do a show system interface. So 74.50. I should be able to just access this directly over my browser. I think I would have made the admin details the same. So let's go into our device manager. Currently I have no devices imported. Let's try and add a device. So let's say we want to discover a device. The IP address is 192.168.74.88. Username admin, password p@ssw0rd. Let's try and add the device. Unsupported device version. I don't know if that's because we're on version 7 or because of the TLS issue. I'm actually going to think it's the TLS issue. So for this, we're going to use our good friend Google quickly. FortiGate unable to import to FortiManager. Oh, there's FortiManager version 7.0. I might actually start that up as well for the next stream to play around with that, because I think my version is 6.4 something. Let's just check here. FortiGate VM. Let's just look at this Reddit post. I'm actually trying to find a specific forum post on FortiGate, but no, I don't see it here. Because essentially what you can do is you can change the TLS on the firewall. I think you can do it through the config system global. And then from here, we should be able to set, but as you can see, there's a ton of stuff you can set here. So I'm trying to remember exactly what it is. Could it have been TLS? No. Wait, what was that? SSL versions. TLS v 1.1. Let's see, unable to import FortiGate into FortiManager. I'm not looking for how-tos specifically. It's literally just a post that I saw a long time ago, and it was how I was able to test the FortiGate SD-WAN like a few years ago, was to do this SSL encryption, or lowering the encryption to a version where you could actually import it into the FortiManager. Because it's definitely not this. None of this stuff. Import FortiGate into FortiManager. Let's type TLS as well. Man, it's so silly if you're actually looking for something and it just like vanishes. It's not that. FortiGate VM TLS FortiManager. Maybe I should just go into the FortiGate forum quickly, forum.fortinet.com. Or is it FortiGate.com? How do you even search on this? This is a pretty basic forum. No, man, this is terrible. Maybe this is something. This actually looks like what I'm looking for. Let's try and set this. Alright, so that was config global, set encryption algorithm. Alright, so now we don't have the option for encryption algorithm. And we don't even have TLS version 1.0 So I'm actually thinking I won't be able to import this firewall at all unless I use version 7 and it is a properly licensed device, not the trial device. That's a bit of a pity. Let's quickly go into Eve. I'll just quickly add another FortiGate, but one that is a compatible version. I think version 1828. I won't give it a nice icon or anything. This is just to quickly test. So let's just save that. Let's bring that into my intranet node. Start this up. Because I really just want to import a device to FortiManager. Alright. Device is busy booting up. I just want to see which version this is. I know it's version 6, but I want to see which version 6. Admin password. Oh, it's admin blank. Now we set the password. Config system interface. Edit port 1. Let's set mode static. Set IP 192.168.74. Let's make it 89/24. Next. End. Oh wait, there's something else I wanted to set. Config system interface. Edit port 1. Want to set the, or let's append, allow access, the FGM. And FTM. FTM should be for the FortiManager. Let's just next end that. Let's do a config system global. Now let's see. Can I set encryption here at all? No, I can't. Let's try the TLS version 1.1. Let's do next. Let's do an N. So this was 89. Let's just jump back onto the FortiManager quickly. Try and add a device. Device is 192.168.74.89. Password admin with password. Let's see what this gives us. Okay, so this actually picks up the firmware version. It's a standalone version, what its name is. I could have booted a template here. And let's just try and add it. See what it does. Hey Vinoth. Alright, so I can not import the version 7 appliances, but this might also just be because I am using version 6.4.5 for the FortiManager, which is pretty cool because now we've got a FortiGate that we can manage now through FortiManager. So we can push policies through here or change configuration. But really the cool stuff that you want to do is the SD-WAN from here. I can't do any firmware upgrades from here because the device isn't licensed. If I double click on the device, I get more information. Let's see, what can we actually change from here? I don't want to add any widgets or stuff because that's pretty basic stuff. Install policy and package. Hang on. Let's quickly see, what can we, blank template, new template. CLI configurations. All right, that's interesting. So these are just templates that we can configure that would kind of have like a base configuration that you could add, that you could push to the firewalls. So you could tell it what IP addresses you want to assign to interfaces maybe. But typically you'd already maybe have the IP addresses and WAN stuff already sorted. This is more just to push policies, you know, allow certain access from a central point so that you don't have to log into each and every firewall in order to make firewall policy changes or anything. That's actually quite nice about the FortiManager is you just import your firewalls into it. You do get stuff like zero-touch provisioning, and then you have a single pane where you manage the device. So this is really what SDN networking is about. I mean, Cisco does pretty much the same thing with their what's it called? It's also like some type of manager thing. Just it's software-defined networking. I mean, you get the manager, and now here you can do everything as if you were on the firewall, but it's on a central point. So it's just kind of time saving. And I mean, if you mix this up with things like automation, it just makes the whole process a lot quicker, you know. All right, so we've done IPsec. We have imported a firewall into FortiManager. What I'm curious about, let's maybe try and do something that we might struggle with, but it could be fun as well. Let's bring in a MikroTik router. I'll put it on version 6481. And let's try and create an IPsec tunnel to a MikroTik router from a FortiGate. So let's also just connect that into my little management cloud. Let's start the device up. All right, let's go and boot this device up. Hit admin blank. I hit something else, so it might just hang a bit. Let's maybe just close it, reopen the command line. Admin blank. No, I don't want to have a look at the license. All right, let's quickly see, can we find the device in our neighbors? Yes, we can. It should be this new one that we just started up here. So let's connect. Login as admin. All right, cool. I wonder if the MikroTik even has those very basic, just DES. Let's just quickly check before I even attempt to do this. So let's look at our IPsec. See what proposals. Yeah, okay, we do get plain DES, so we can do a plain DES. And we can do a SHA 512. All right, that looks good. Okay. DH group. I actually think 1536 might be 5. All right. Let's just disable that default one. All right, let's quickly connect up onto one of our firewalls. Maybe that primary one, the HQ, because it's the more important one. And let's see, I did get a IP address on the MikroTik via DHCP. Let's just quickly see what that address is. So that is 192.168.74.138. So I'll just use that to connect to with IPsec. And that's also, again, a cool thing with FortiManager is you could deploy IPsec tunnels from here. But I'm not going to do that because I really don't work that much on FortiManager when it comes to importing stuff like that. I'd love to. We can definitely do that in a different lab, but for this, I just want to first get the MikroTik to connect on IPsec with the FortiGate. So let's do that. Let's create an IPsec tunnel. Let's call this IPsec to customer, or let's call it just cust1. Make it a custom template. So we'll connect to a static IP of 192.168.74.38. How can it tell me it's found a duplicate entry? That doesn't seem correct. Okay, we'll leave all of that other stuff basic. Let's just make the PSK 123456 again. Let's set our encryption des SHA 512. Set our DH group to 5. Let's leave the phase 2 selectors just this way for now. I wonder, does the MikroTik even do this for the phase 2 FDH? We'll see. We'll see. 43200, just something to remember quickly. Let's hit enter and let's OK that. So that is now configured from our firewall. Let's just quickly, or the FortiGate. Let's just add a policy that so that it doesn't fail when we actually try and bring the tunnel up. So let's call this IPsec to cust1. This will now be from our LAN, or let's make it from our DMZ to our cust1 tunnel. Now we can specify our DMZ range, and this will be going to, I need to figure out what we want to do at this MikroTik quickly. So let's just make another little box, and let's make another name here, call this cust1. And let's quickly add our IP address range here. We could look at that, but EOIP is such a finicky protocol because it's, I'm not sure if you know how EOIP works, but it is essentially just a GRE tunnel, and that GRE is effectively adding a ton of overhead to your packet. So it just might be that it doesn't work because of the overhead. And you'd have to increase the MTU between all your endpoints. So if you don't have full control over the network from like the whole path, and you're making use of ISPs or a transit, and one of their devices has a smaller MTU, it will destroy your EOIP anyway. So we could look at it, but you know, I might be able to make it work on the stream, but it might not work for you if you try and bring it up on your own network as well. All right, let's get back onto this MikroTik, because right now all that we've got is a proposal set, and I need to probably look at some of my either my old videos or a few other things. All right, I'm pretty sure we need to just add a peer, so we could make this peer to TMB. The address is 192.168.74.88. I'm not going to set any ports or anything. Profile. All right, we're going to use main mode. Let's just apply that. I just want to have a look at this profile bit. All right. So here is probably the phase 1 proposals. So this is going to have to be DES. Our hash is going to be SHA-512. And our MODP 1536. I've got NAT traversal on. All right, let's apply that. So let's see our policies. There we can set our peer. Did I specify an address here? No, I haven't. So let's just specify that. Let's make that maybe 10.123.0.0/24. So let's make our source address 10.123.0.0/24. I actually think the source address bits here was, if I remember, we can just take the tunnel. Let's set our destination address. That is going to be 172, I think 16.1.0/24. We will encrypt, and I can use proposal 1. Let's apply that. Let's see what this does. Don't have any active peers at the moment. But I might just want to have a look at the FortiGate. Is this my primary? No, this is that new VM I brought up. Let's just go into Eve. It's this nice big red one. Admin password, show system, show VPN IPsec phase 1 interface. What I'd like to do is maybe just a diagnose debug application IKE -1 again, and then I'm going to just try and bring the tunnel up from the FortiGate so that I can look at some of the details. So I know there's a few things I haven't done on the MikroTik yet, but I first just want to get this phase 1 up and running at least. That should work. So let's just see, what does it do here? IPsec to customer 1. No policy configured. I'm pretty sure I configured a policy. Let's just see. I didn't. All right, well, that sucks. Let's call this DMZ access to cust 1. So this time it's going to be anything from the DMZ going out to the new IPsec tunnel. I'll specify my DMZ ranges. I'll specify my destination as 10.123.0.0/24. So this is just for my customer 1 LAN. All right, I'll make the service all for now. I won't NAT any of the traffic, and I'll just enable the policy. Clone reverse quickly, just so that we have that bi-directionally. But remember, the firewalls are stateful, so they will allow traffic if it is initiated from a side that is already being allowed. So it will allow that return traffic. Okay, now that we have a policy, let's just quickly try and bring the IPsec tunnel up again and see what the firewall is saying. I'm pretty sure it's still going to be failing. I just want to see the reasons. So a good thing to make sure as well is just to check, can we actually ping that remote side? Yes, we can. But I feel like my DH group might be wrong. Let's just see here, what is it doing? Because right now it's just trying to retransmit this encrypted data the whole time. quick Google search might help us as well. DH group 5. So that is 1536-bit. Okay, so we did have the group correct. So there is nothing wrong with the DH group. What is this group stuff? Groups. What can we do with this? This doesn't make any sense to me. Alright, we've got our policies. We've set this to tunnel. This all looks fine to me. But I know I don't have any active peers at the moment. Should we set the local address maybe? 192.168.74. What was it? 138 or so? Let's just see what that does. And we are using main mode. Definitely not using any keys. Let's just try and force this up again. Okay, but we are using des sha 5012. Let's just check on the firewall. Did I actually make it the same? Cust 1. There's. Let's just see if we've got something in the. Well, what I'm checking is the logs from the firewall, but we can have a look in the logs on the MikroTik as well. So what we can do is just look at our log file. No auth method for peer. What do you mean no auth method? Let's just quickly check. Profile. Where have we actually set the PSK? Peer. Is it something with the, oh, okay, identities. Okay, here we can set our pre-shared key. Secret was 123456. I shouldn't have to set anything else. Let's just apply. Strong pre-shared key, okay. But that is because we are using something that's very basic right now. All right, but now we can actually see some stuff here in our active peers. Let's quickly go back to our FortiGate. And let's look at our network. See what happens if I try and bring that up. Still getting a bunch of file pre-process phase 2 packet. But is the phase 1 actually connected now? All right, so the phase 1 is connecting. So now we know it's just the phase 2 failing. All right. But I think I know why it's failing, because we did actually specify the phase 2 on the MikroTik. So let's just specify our subnets on here as well. So our local subnet was 172.16.10/24. Our remote subnet is 10.123.0.0/24. That's okay then. And let's quickly see if the phases are connecting now. just bring that up. That's still not working. But it might have to do with the actual firewall policies that I need to put on. But before I do that, I'm pretty sure that the tunnel should come up. So 10, 123, I wonder, do I still need to just assign this range quickly? Let's try that. Let me just add a bridge, make it LO0 for a loopback address. And then let's just assign an IP address 10.123.0.1/24. Let's assign that to the loopback address. And let's quickly refresh here. I want to check quickly if I do a ping from 172.16.1.1 to 10.123.0.1. I know that it's going to fail, but I just want to see what it does. Diagnose, debug, flow filter, destination address 10.123.0.1. Diagnose, debug, flow, trace, start. Diagnose, debug, enable. Let's try and do a ping again. All right. So that's not going to work because I again haven't added a static route yet. So let's just add that for 10.123.0.0/24 to go out over the IPsec cust 1, which is pretty cool. It actually shows it's up there now. Let's just see if the phase 2 is also good now. Wow, the phase 2 is also good. It looks pretty good so far, guys. Admin password source 172.16.1.1 execute ping 10.123.0.1. Let me just disable the diagnosed debug reset. So I can actually ping across. That is pretty wild. And I didn't have to do any of that other firewall business on the MikroTik that you usually do. Like you come here, you add a firewall, NAT rule, and some pretty weird stuff. Let's just see from the MikroTik if I can actually ping across to the FortiGate. So let's ping 172.16.1.1. And let's ping as 10.123.0.1. Cool. So the IPsec is actually up and running. It's working. And it's working pretty well. So now we've got an IPsec tunnel between our MikroTik to this FortiGate device. And this is the first time I've also set up a IPsec between a FortiGate and MikroTik. And it's pretty straightforward if you think about it. I think I've mentioned this in other videos. All config is roughly the same. I mean, it might look a little bit different where you do what, but at the end of the day, you need policies, you need phase 1, phase 2, you need a pre-shared key, even though the pre-shared key of the FortiGate is kind of like very easy to just fill in, where with the MikroTik we had to go to a completely separate thing. It's up and running. All right, I'm happy with that. So what else can we play around with? We've played around with IPsec between two FortiGates running version 7. We've played around with IPsec between MikroTik and FortiGate. And we've got FortiManager access also working. What can we do that might be interesting as well? I think let's actually jump into the VXLAN stuff as well. Should we or shouldn't we? I mean, I could end off the lab now as well. But let's quickly look at that. So I'll just open up a new, let's call it a stream lab. TMB Streamlabs. Let's just add a new lab. Let's just call this VXLAN test. Let's save this. But like I said, when I initially started this video, VXLAN is it's definitely in its infancy on MikroTik. It's not ironed out. It's not doing everything it's actually supposed to be doing yet. But what is VXLAN? At the end of the day, VXLAN, to put quite simply, it also revolves around software-defined networking, but I think it spun off the necessity for data centers to be able to communicate with each other on the same broadcast domains almost. But people got like very frustrated. I actually think I heard it from David Bombal. Like I didn't hear it from him. He was more or less joking about it. Like it got very frustrating for system administrators to always go to a network administrator and ask them, hey, I need to do this and I need to be able to get here and do this and do that. And it's now up to a point where as long as two devices have layer 3 connectivity, which means they can connect over IP to each other, because VXLAN uses IP to connect, you can create a VXLAN network and basically span your layer 2 over between two physical locations without involving the network engineer. So that's pretty wicked if you think about it. And VXLAN, it has a lot of benefits besides like taking a network engineer out of the equation, but it's also way easier to configure than something like VPLS to achieve a similar thing. So VXLAN, at the end of the day, it has an underlay network, which is your IP network, the service provider's network to connect to. And then you've got the actual devices creating this, let's say, a VXLAN tunnel to span layer 2 services. So I'm just going to do a very basic VXLAN setup just to kind of showcase what it does. And let's just call this router. I'll add, let's say, 4 routers. I'll give them 12 ports each, and let's just save that. So router 1 and router 2 is going to be our underlay network, whereas router 3 and 4 will be, let's say, our VXLAN network, or our endpoints where we're going to have the VXLAN. And then from there, I might just add some servers, or just VPCs actually. Let's just add 2 VPCs as well. Okay, and then what we can do is maybe just make a shape, kind of like demark where what is. That's a thick border. Maybe make that 2, that looks a bit better. Okay, so that is our underlay. Here is our overlay. So these router 3 and router 4 could have been servers for, you know, like just as long as the things can do VXLAN, that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. So I just want to configure this network very quickly because I do want to spend some time with my beautiful wife and son. But let's just add a 10.0.0/30 network between router 1 and 2. I hope I set these devices as the correct version. Hang on. Edit. It's not going to work on CHR version 648. We need version 7. So let me just update these OSs before I proceed with anything. Unfortunately, VXLAN is not on version 6. All right, let's save that. There's various ways you could do that. I mean, you could even do something like an L2TP tunnel. And you could run IPsec over the L2TP, And you'd achieve pretty much like the same thing if it's in a different subnet. Let's just bring in as version 7. All right, cool. So let's just add some different IPs between router 3 and router 4, whatever. So this I will make 172.16.0.0/30. The other side I'll make .1. Very easy to understand. And then I'll connect these virtual PCs to router 3 and 4 quickly, so they'll both come in on Ether 2. And what else I want to do is, let's just duplicate this IP. So this is going to be the VXLAN overlay network. And we can make this VNI 111 or something. And the range is going to be 192.168.0.0/24. Very basic range to understand. And then I might just copy that, add a new text. We can call that the underlay network. And the VXLAN doesn't care what the underlay network is doing, just as long as there's IP to IP communication. So this could have been an MPLS network, it could be internet, it could be whatever, just as long as the stuff can communicate. I'm going to just add some loopback addresses for my routers as well, because I will use the loopback addresses to communicate. Just make this 999.1. Give this a nice red color. Maybe make that bold. All right, so router 1 will be 9991. Router 2 will be 9992. Router 3, maybe people can guess what I'm going to make router 3, 9993. And then router 4, which will be 999.4. Cool. All right, so let's quickly start up our routers. And then with our routers, I just want to configure the IP addresses between the devices, and then I'm going to configure OSPF so that I can advertise these loopback addresses across the network. And then we're actually going to use the loopback addresses to create these VXLAN tunnels, which is interesting. I'll start up the VPC so long as well. And I'm just going to jump onto router 1 quickly. Admin blank. No, I don't want to see anything. Sys identity set name R1. Let's just do the IP address. Add address 10.0.0.1/30. And that should be on Ether 2. And then IP address, add address equals 172.16.0.1/30 on Ether 1. And then we're just going to add a interface bridge, add name equals LO0. Our IP address for that is going to be 999.1 for our bridge interface, or LO0. And then let's quickly set up the OSPF. So OSPF changes on how it works on version 7 the whole time. We're going to use what they call interface templates for this. But it's still pretty straightforward. So all that we're going to do is routing OSPF instance. Let's just see, do we have an instance? We don't get an instance by default, so we'll just add an instance. We're going to give it the name of backbone. Hang on, we also want to... No, we don't need to set a... We can just set the instance along. So we'll add an instance. The name will be backbone. The version I'll use version 2 for this. I could use version 3 if I was using OSPF version 3, but let's use version 2. And I'll make my router ID 9.9.9.1. So now we've got a instance. Let's do a routing OSPF area. Let's add the area. Call this the backbone as well. And the instance I will associate this with is going to be my other backbone. And let's see, is there anything else I want to do here? No, not really. So we've got a routing OSPF area with the name backbone, and it's associated with my backbone instance. And we're going to be doing routing OSPF interface template interface. Hang on, what's happening here? I get a feeling I just want to check something. Routing OSPF interface, there we go, dash template. Now the template is kind of like where we specify our networks. So here I can now add my network. So first thing that I want to add here is my 10.0.0/30 network. And my area will be the backbone. I'm also going to specify my networks for 172.16.0.0/30. And I'm going to add my 9.9.9.1. All right, so that's OSPF on router 1. Let's quickly jump on router 2. And this is kind of just going to be a copy paste almost. No, so sys ident set name R2, IP address, add address 10.0.0.2/30 on Ether 1. IP address add address equals 172.16. Let's make this 1.1/30 on Ether 2. Then we're gonna do interface bridge, add the name is allo0, and then let's add the IP address 9.9.9.2 to our bridge or allo0. And let's quickly do our OSPF setup. So routing OSPF instance, add name backbone. We want a version which is 2, and we want a router ID which is 9992. Routing OSPF area. Let's add our area. Name backbone, instance backbone. And then routing OSPF interface dash template, add networks 10.0.0.0/30 with our area backbone, and then the 172.16.10/30, and lastly the 999.2 address. All right, so first I want to see, is my OSPF actually doing anything? I should be learning routes actually. And this is like where OSPF is really weird on the new router OS. Let's just see, can I jump onto a Winbox? I don't have any of these routers connected to the management cloud, so I won't be able to see them this way. But what I found is sometimes what you also need to do is when you specify the networks, you also need to specify sorry, I don't know why my voice is so freaking croaky right now. So we'll specify the interfaces as well. I don't know like why this is a thing, but it is. So I'm just going to add this as well. So I'll add ether 1 and ether 2. And let's just see if I do an IP route print. Am I actually learning anything now? I'm not learning anything. So let's look at our routing OSPF neighbors. Do we see anything there? I don't even see any neighbors. Can I ping 10.0.0.2? I can't ping 10.0.0.2, so if I can't even ping it, it's gonna fail obviously. So let's just reconnect. Might just be like this whole cable issue. It might also be I've put the IPs incorrectly on router 1 or 2. So let's just see IP address print. So the IP is right on router 1. Let's look at router 2, IP address print 10.0.0.2 on ether 1. So that's correct. Let's see, can I ping across 10.10.0.1? No man, if I can't ping, then this obviously won't work. My OSPF won't form any neighbors. Oh, but remember the interfaces get shuffled around on E for some weird reason. I really don't know why. If I do an IP neighbor print, I'll actually see I'm learning router 1 on ether 3. So all that I'm going to do is I'm going to shift the IPs. So IP address print IP set interface IP address set interface. So for entry 0 I want to set that as ether 3, and for entry 1 I want to set that as ether 1. It's so weird, man. This is why labbing this beta stuff is not so fun. IP neighbor print, and it's the same thing here. So let's just set the interfaces. So IP address set interface equals ether 3 for entry 0 and ether 1 for entry 1. All right. So can I now ping across 10.0.0.1, 10.0.0.2? I'm still failing to ping across. Let's do the good old cable trick again. The what BGP thing? There's lots of BGP things, Nicola. IP neighbor print. I don't like that. IP address print. IP address print. So that IP looks good to me. Ping 10.0.0.1.2. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm just quickly going to refresh topology and then add my management network onto here. So let's throw this in here. I do find the VXLAN interesting as well, though. And once they get it working properly, I think it will like be very, very interesting. I don't want to connect these to ether 3. I just don't know why this version 7 MikroTiks give me so much hassles on virtualization. It's really just like the port 1 just like doesn't know what it wants to do. All right. So now I should be able to see these MikroTiks in my neighbors. So there's R1. So let's quickly connect to that. So R1, let's quickly close all the windows and then let's look at our IP neighbors quickly. All right, that doesn't make any sense. So now it is learning it on Ether 1. So let's move that IP address to Ether 1. Let's just see the other neighbor. So for plain MikroTik, actually let's just label that MikroTik as well. So R3, let's just quickly set this identity. Admin blank, no. System identity set name R3. So just so that I can identify where this is. Might just have to close that and open it back up. It's still not updating. But there it sees router 2 on Ether 10, but that is because of the management network that both of them are connecting to. Man, this is frustrating me now. IP address. So this is learning. Man, I hate this. All right. I'm actually going to do this as well. Let's just connect Ether 1 to Ether 1 for router 1 and router 2. And then the Ether 2s from both routers to our, let's say, endpoints. Let's refresh our topology and let's see what are we seeing now. Let's check on router 1, IP neighbor print. All right. So I actually think that's where my confusion came in as well. So because I had Ether 1 actually connecting to router 3 and Ether 1 is actually Ether 3 for some weird reason on this beta version. So if I do an IP address print now we should be fine. So if I ping 10.0.0.2, now I'm getting a response. Okay, cool. Let's just see, is our OSPF actually working? OSPF neighbor print. I do see a neighbor. I've got a full adjacency. And do I have routes? Open route print. I am learning routes. Okay, perfect. Cool. Now let's just quickly set this up on router 3 and 4, which you guys can see is really annoying actually. So IP address add address 172.16.02/30, and the interface is going to be Ether 3, even though it's connected on Ether 1 on my topology. And then we are just going to go and add a loopback address quickly. So interface bridge, add name allo0, IP address, add address. No problem, Colby. So IP address, we'll add this as 9.9.9.3 on our loopback address. And then let's quickly add our OSPF. So routing OSPF instance, add name backbone version 2, and then our router ID, which is 999.3. Next we'll do routing OSPF area, add name backbone, instance is backbone as well. And then let's quickly just add the network. So routing OSPF interface template. Then we can specify we want to add a network as 172.16.0.0/30 and our area as backbone. And I just want to advertise my loopback address as well. So 999.3. Am I learning any routes yet? Can I ping my neighbor? Let's just check that first. Yes, I can. And the OSPF is connecting without me having to specify the interfaces. Okay, so that's fine. Cool. We're just going to do the last router quickly, and then we can actually start doing the VXLAN portion. But the VXLAN is so quick to set up. But you'll also see why I don't trust it yet. Sorry about that. Admin blank. New system identity set name R4. IP address add address 172.16.1.2/30 on Ether 3, even though it's Ether 1. Let's see, can I ping 172.16.1.1? Yes, I can. So then we'll just do an interface bridge add name LO0. IP address add address 999.4 on LO0. And what we're going to do next is routing OSPF instance add name backbone version 2 with the router ID being 999.4. Routing OSPF area add name backbone instance backbone, and then routing OSPF interface template add networks 172.16.1.0/30 in our backbone, and then also our loopback address, which was 9.9.9.4. Cool. So now I should have end-to-end communication as soon as the OSPF establishes. I do. So from 9994, can I ping 9993? I can. All right, so now we can actually do the VXLAN bit. So as I mentioned, VXLAN makes use of an underlay network to create its own overlay network to basically span a layer 2 domain via IP. So you don't need to introduce stuff like LDP or like bring in MPLS in order to do VPLS or anything like that, or set up EOIP tunnels or anything. This is just straight IP to IP communication to build a VXLAN tunnel, so to speak. So let me just quickly do the VXLAN config. So what we're going to do is we'll just go to our interfaces, and then from here we should actually see okay, this is a different MikroTik. Let's go into our neighbors, and there's R1. I don't want to configure this on R1, so let's just quickly connect the other routers as well to the management network quickly. So Ether 10, Ether 10. And let's go into the management network of router. Let's go to router 3. And then from router 3, all that we're going to do is we'll go to our VXLAN. And you basically treat this as if you're setting up an EOIP tunnel. Like, that's the funny bit. But it doesn't work like EOIP. It doesn't make use of GRE. So it's not like causing massive overhead for you. So all we're going to do is we create a new VXLAN interface. Think of the VNI almost like a VRID for VRRP. So this needs to match on both ends. Even with EOIP, like you get this group thing that you can specify. So we'll just specify VNI as 111. The group, this is a broadcast group. So I might make this 239.0.0.1. Which interface is this going to be on? So in my case, this is going to be on let's just see. I might put this on my allo interface. And then my port 8472. Let's apply that. Although I actually think I might have to add that interface as my outgoing interface, which would be Ether 3. But let's just test it as is. So I've got the VXLAN interface specified. And then what I'm going to do is just add another VXLAN interface on router 4. Let's just connect there. Interface VXLAN. Or hang on, why did that drop? Let's just reconnect quickly. VXLAN, VNI was 111, 239.0.0.1, and I'll use allo 0. And then what I'm going to do is create a bridge and call this VXLAN VNI 111 bridge. Apply that. And I'm going to do the same on router 3. So I'm creating a bridge, giving it a name, VXLAN VNI 111 bridge, applying that. And then what I need to do is just add my ports. So my ports will now be my VXLAN interface. I'll assign to that bridge. And I will also assign Ether 2, which is going to the LAN. So this is kind of like the VPLS. And we're going to do the same on router 4. Oh, well, we already did on router 4, or did we? All right, router 4, we just need to assign the ports to the bridge. So assign VXLAN. Oh, that's so annoying that it keeps dropping. I might just quickly do that via the command line to speed this up. Although even the CLI seems to be a bit scuffed. Hello? Let's just quickly stop the routers and bring them back up. Maybe I even need to restart Eve because there's something weird there. Bug, soft lockup, CPU 0. Let's just refresh the topology. It looks like Eve has gone gone to bed. Let's quickly maybe restart my Eve server. Let's just do a power restart. Right, that's no good. Let's just try and force a power off. Don't you guys just hate running into issues? Thanks, Ozone. Appreciate it. So, root Eve. Let's see, can I connect to my Eve server again? Admin Eve. I can. It's pretty cool. Congratulations. Like BFD is really solid. I like how like quick convergence becomes with it. can I connect onto these MikroTiks now? I don't want to connect onto ROM1, I want to connect to the MAC addresses. Can I connect onto the CLI? I just get connection refused. This isn't good at all. Did Eve like goof? Alright, and this isn't good. I think these nodes might be busted. That's more of a that's not really an issue with the BFD. That's more of an issue with, well, not an issue with it, but like if you've done like MTCRE or whatnot, then you know, like I think they even teach it in the MTCNA, like the router has a rib and a fib, like a router information base and a forwarding information base, and the MikroTik just like has like set, like it just kind of keeps certain routes for certain periods. It's just how it is. I don't think it's a configuration issue that we made on the MikroTiks here. I think something like messed up with my Eve, and now I can't get back on these nodes, and these nodes are busted. So I'd have to recreate them, which I'm not going to spend like time on doing just now. Let me see if I can find my other, I think I just called it VXLAN here, because this is a different topology. I based this off of, I don't know if you guys have seen Stub Area 51 or Kevin Myers. He's pretty cool, makes a lot of good MikroTik material on his blog. I based this network kind of off of what he set up on their blog, and it worked. But I just want to see, are these devices live? Alright, something's locked up with my Eve actually. Let's just stop these nodes, start them up again. I actually think I might have to do some troubleshooting on Eve. There are things that you can definitely do. We can see, we can definitely play around and see if there are ways that we can like make the routes disappear quicker. I mean, a lot of the times, even though the BFD is set up and working, a lot of the times people also have like long hold timers for their BGP peers, so the session remains established for much longer as well. But this is now, of course, if you don't have BFD running on the network, then you'll have to wait for the whole timer to expire before the peer actually dies, and that actually extends why it takes so long for certain routes to come up. All right, my Eve looks like it's in a very bad spot right now. There we go. Sweating a bit here. Yeah, I saw that actually with the OSPF, and I personally haven't had issues with BFD, but that was running it on smaller networks. So if you are enterprise or if you are ISP, like doing carrier stuff, and you're putting BFD on OSPF, it might be a bad idea then. But BFD on BGP looks pretty good though. I wonder, can we actually continue with our other lab? Because if we can, that would be great, because we should just make that work. VXLAN test. I might just have to start up the nodes again. So let's just shut them off, start them up again. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I've actually got a family in Australia, brother. So awesome. I'd actually love to come visit, or you know, even look at potential opportunities that side, like, because I've got family there, and it's, well, I think a lot of people from my side of the world likes to either go to Australia or New Zealand, because the cultures are quite similar. I guess the word is rough, you know, like we're in tune with we're not scared of stuff, you know, like nature. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm South African. I think and that's right. There are a lot of South Africans that tend to try and get to Australia. It's not just the cultural thing. I also think even the weather. I mean, it's also like kind of very similar. So it's not like a big adjustment for South Africans if they go to AU. All right, let's quickly see, can I access these MikroTiks now? I should be able to. Why is it giving me wrong username password? Okay, there we go. There's router 3. Let's just see what's happening on router 4. Let's just bring that up. I was busy adding my ports to the bridge, so VXLAN was going to that bridge, and Ether 2 was going to the bridge as well. Awesome, I appreciate that, man. I'll definitely reach out to you. Let's quickly see if the stuff is working. I suspect I might have to move this VXLAN interface, but I just first want to see. And actually there's more to the configuration. We should be adding VTEPs, and that you can currently only do via the CLI. But for some reason, the VXLAN is already working. I don't know why, and that's why I think this is more of a bug than anything else, or something's not set up correctly yet, which is why I wouldn't recommend trying to do VXLAN on like the beta in your production network. IP 192.168.0. Let's make this 100, and let's make the other PC 200. Okay, if that PC will play with VPC. Let's just try again. No, let's stop it and start it. Come now, start. And let's do IP 192.168.0.200/24. So let's see, can I ping 0.100? No, I cannot. But let's see if we can specify the VTEPs quickly, because I actually do have the setup a bit different than what it was in my initial lab. So let's just go into the command line. Admin blank, and then what we're going to do is just interface VXLAN, VXLAN, VTEP. Now we're going to add a VTEP. Our interface, this should be our VXLAN interface. Our VXLAN interface. And our remote IP should be the remote peer that we want to connect to. So from router 3, we want to connect to router 4, so that's 9994. And then let's quickly do the same on router 4. So admin blank interface VXLAN VTEP. We want to add a VTEP. Our interface is VXLAN 1, and our remote IP for this is 999.3. So we've added the VTEPs. Let's quickly check, can I ping across stuff now? I still can't. But as I said, I do suspect I need to move my VXLAN interface, because I don't think this should be under my bridge. I actually think I should put this under my Ether 3. So let's just move this. The VXLAN interface. We'll throw that under our Ether 3. Oh, now it's going to complain about the MTU, and this isn't really, this is just an issue because of the trial CHR that I'm running here. So I'm just going to have to drop the MTU on the VXLAN interface. So let's maybe make that MTU 1400, and let's throw that on Ether 3. And I'm going to do the same on router 4 quickly, because this is also actually going to Ether 3. Drop that MTU to 1400. And I think that should about be it, to be honest. Let's just jump back to a VPC. So from this VPC, can I ping 192.168.0.200? No, I cannot. But the setup looks good to me. So the VXLAN interface is where it's supposed to be at. The interface is right, our VNI group is right. So all this information looks fine, and we did define our VTEPs. All right, I'm just going to close the lab and just show more or less a working example, which was this other VXLAN setup that I did. And these routers are already started up. So essentially, we've got a 192.168.0.0 network as well. I just want to see if I go into router 1, what this config looks like. So IP, so interface. Let's just do an export, like full export. So here we've got our bridge, we've added the VXLAN interface and the interface going to the customer LAN to a bridge. Here's the VTEPs that we defined. Here's our IP addresses, but we don't assign any IP address to that. And the important bit is this interface VXLAN. So here we've got a group. Here we've set the interface to Ether 3, which is actually that Ethernet interface going out to the other MikroTik. There's our VNI. All right, so this looks pretty basic and pretty much the same as what I set up before, except before I had like routers in between. Now these routers just all directly connect. But in essence, what the VXLAN should do is, if I give this PC an IP of 192.168.0.100, and I give the other VPC on the remote end an IP of 192.168.0.200/24, I should be able to ping across. So let's just test from here. Ping 192.168.0.200. So there we are getting a ping across. And the configuration is pretty much exactly the same. It's literally just, instead of the routers directly connected to each other now, like they're still connected through a switch, but now we had an additional hop in between. So I'll check why it might not be working, but the config looks good. I mean, I'm willing to share this config. This is like how you should set up the VXLAN, and it's literally just to span that layer 2 service between two different sites. Like it's the same broadcast domain, but the routers aren't aware of it. Like they don't see that IP range. They don't know what it is. They don't know anything about it. It's literally just so that these, if they were servers, they could directly communicate with each other. All right, cool. So that's all that I'm going to show about VXLAN. Nicola, you ask about BGP ignore AS path length. So what is an AS path length? Let's just see if I can open up another lab that actually has BGP. Because the AS path length should be, if you look at a specific route, you can see what the AS path is. But I haven't actually done anything with the ignore AS path length myself. So we could definitely try and set something up with it. Let me see if I can get my big stream with all of the routers and stuff. Because I think all that this really would do is ignore the path. Like it won't show you the whole AS path that a prefix has taken to get to you. It will most likely just show you your direct AS path, like the AS that's directly connected to you. So an example would be if I just zoom out here. We've got our 3 ASs. So there's AS65200, AS65100, and AS65000. So in essence, what I think this should be doing is, let's say if this AS6500 is learning your subnets, if you looked at the routing table, you would see the AS path. You would see 65200, then 65100, and then that's how it would know how to get to these subnets. If I'm just guessing, but I'm going to set this up in a lab as well, that if you do the ignore AS path, that it should basically strip, let's say the 65200 from the prefix. When you look at the routing table, it's of router 7. If you receive this prefix 169.255.201.0/24, instead of seeing the whole AS path, it should just see the AS it received it from is 65100. Like that should be the gist of it. But I would have to bring this up in the lab for you to actually show you. Let's just you mentioned that the wiki gives a poor explanation, so let's just go to the MikroTik TOC. I take it you are talking about the TOC, or are you talking about the other wiki? Because I've seen 2 wikis, and the other wiki is where they've got a lot of the version 7 stuff in. Let's just see. Here is our BGP. And you are looking for your ignore AS path length. Whether to ignore AS path attribute in BGP route selection algorithm. So what I take from that is, if you set it to ignore the AS path length, it will not decide if a route is best based off of its AS path. Yeah, exactly, Ozot. That's how I'm also like reading that. But like I said, we can definitely play around with it. We can like set it up and test it. But I am actually going to call the stream now, because I'm pretty spent, and I do want to spend a little bit of time with my family before I go to bed and, you know, get back to work again. So thanks again for everybody that watched. I appreciate all the support. Ozot, Nicola, thanks for the questions, guys. Really like helps me when you guys are interacting with me, so that we can, you know, figure out more stuff as well. My main game? What do you mean? What is my main game? What main game? Like, if you're talking about computer gaming, I mean, there's a lot of computer games that I play. I'm actually a massive gamer. I love computer gaming. It's been a part of my life since I can remember. I mean, people like to put that in their biography sometimes. I've been on computers since I remember, but it's been legit. Like, me and my brother, we've been busy on computers since we can remember. I mean, I think our dad brought home a 386, very old computer. It had like Windows 3.5 1 or something on it, and I remember like playing silly stuff like Snake or whatever on it. But I mean, that's the past. But video games always been a big thing. Currently, I mean, I am a big WoW, World of Warcraft player, because I do run a raiding guild as well. On retail, we typically we've played in Shadowlands, but we're currently taking a break. So I'm currently just playing Burning Crusade very casually with my fiance. So we're just going through the grinding and leveling experience and all that. Other than that, I love any game, dude. Like I could even, I wonder, let's go into the Steam library. Even though I feel ashamed of not playing a lot of stuff on Steam. I also got a PlayStation 5 quite recently, like last month somewhere. And it's so silly. Like I played Resident Evil Village on it. And that was such a good game. That was really, really fun to play. Like I enjoyed it so much. But it's funny to me. I played Resident Evil, then I booted up a few other games, and now I'm replaying Mass Effect, the remastered trilogy on the PlayStation 5. So that's kind of my game. Before I go to bed, I boot up the PlayStation, and I'm like doing a little bit of commander shepherding, like getting your allies so that you can fight against the Reapers or whatever. I'm about 1/3 done with Mass Effect 3. I completed 1 and 2 already, so that's cool. But like you see, like I play a few. I love Warhammer. I'm a huge fan of. I've played like Cyberpunk. I actually want to play again since they fixed a lot of the issues. Wasteland. This game is amazing. Like I'm not sure if you like CRPGs, like there's some text based, but there is a lot of like actual voice acting and stuff in it. But this should be something you also try and play. This game was really, really cool for me. But it's turn-based combat, but the RPG element in it is really like nice. Like it's one of those things where every playthrough is different because every choice you make impacts the world differently. Like if you're too slow to take an action, or the way you talk to people, like I enjoy games like that. It's freaking sick. And then yeah, I mean I love most games. I maybe want to reinstall a few things, but I haven't played. Like it's scary because I know there's some games in the Steam library I haven't touched yet. Like I haven't played. I bought Outlast 2. I haven't played it. I haven't installed it. Pathologic. I read good things about the game. I played the first one, but I never really got far into it. And I know it's actually really good like game and very atmospheric, but I haven't really played it. But personally, I'm a big RPG fan. I love role-playing games. Even though I've never done stuff like Dungeons and Dragons, like board game-esque things, but RPG, always there. I think RTS was actually my favorite thing because now we're getting back to the World of Warcraft thing. Because when I was a teenager, let's say even preteen, like let's say even though we don't have middle school, it's like grade 1 to 7 or whatever. When when Warcraft 3 came out, like I played Warcraft 1 and 2 before, but like very like not big or anything. And in Warcraft 3, like that was like my whole teenage years. I played that game. It was a good game from when it came out up until I like was out of school and started working. And then the game remained relevant, and it introduced me to stuff like Dota and other things, and I just loved the world, like Warcraft lore. Sadly, I couldn't play World of Warcraft growing up because I had like a 56 KB modem at my home, and I think that was really not going to cut it for the type of connectivity to play that type of game. Even though it was 56 KB, we realistically only got down 23 KB, and I remember me and my brother downloading things, and it would take us like 2 hours to download a few megs or something. So that sucked. So currently I'm playing WoW to the European servers because the latency is better if I'm playing to EU. It's like about a 70 millisecond difference, and on a good day, let's say on a really good day, I get about like 190 ms to the US, or not US, the EU servers, which it's not bad. I mean, it's actually not really something you realize when playing an MMORPG, but it's better than, you know, like playing on the US. But I also enjoy playing on EU because there's such a vast difference in cultures. Like I've played with so many different. I've played with Arabic people. I've played with Scandinavians, people just from like France, from the UK, wherever, and like you get to know a little bit more of their cultures. I don't mean to say like Americans aren't cultured or anything. Like each state is a bit different as well, but for me it feels kind of like it's one big state, whereas you get to learn a lot about different people when you play on the EU servers. But I might want to see what US is like, especially if I do maybe move over to AU, because then I suspect that I would have to play on a US server, since the latency would just be a lot like higher. I'm very interested. Like you can definitely show me your videos. I'll even check out your channel. Like I didn't even know you have a channel. Can I just search for it on YouTube? It's also just called like Ozot Esports. Oh, well, I've subbed to you, dude. So I'll definitely have a look at some of your videos, because I feel like QoS is definitely something a lot of people want to know about. Cool, man. No, I'll definitely check it out a bit more. Thanks for the share. Wolfbit, no, I haven't worked with Go BGP before. Can I check what that is? Go BGP? No, I haven't worked with this before, but this looks interesting. I'll definitely have a look at this. Thanks for bringing this up. I wasn't even aware of Go BGP. Yeah, sure thing, Ozot. I'll definitely reach out with you. Maybe we could even correspond on email, or if you've got Discord, I could add you on Discord and we could like chat on there as well. Anyways, guys, I'm definitely going to end off the stream now. I feel actually a bit guilty now that I haven't seen my fiance and my baby. So I want to go have a look at them, maybe have a bath with the baby, and hope you guys have a wonderful evening. Thanks for this stream, and catch you guys again. Bye bye.